Welcome back, guys and girls, to another episode of Does What It Says. And on this episode, I will be upgrading the steering servo, the steering links, the steering shafts, the servo saver, the hex adjusters behind the wheels, and a little tip on how to stop these wheels from falling off. So I took this little beast to a go-kart track, and basically we set up a small section of the track so we could do some high-speed runs, a few tight corners, a few long corners. Yeah, have a little race round with some of the guys. And 3 laps this lasted, and the front left-hand wheel, see you later, came around the corner and it went whee and just disappeared. So I managed to find the wheel and the little red washer, as you can see in this picture. So I lost the hex nut, the little metal pin that goes through the shaft, and one of the wheel bearings. So that was it. End of. I'd done about 2.5, 3 laps, and that was it. Stuck it back in the bag and started thinking about what I could do to prevent this happening again, and what it was that actually happened. Why did that wheel fall off? And why was the cornering absolute dog, to be completely honest. Slower speeds, it was pretty good. It was good. It was great fun. It was all over the place. Loved it. It was awesome. Spinning around, everything. It was great stuff. Looked at power slides and bits and pieces. But as soon as you got a bit of high speed, like up there kind of thing, its cornering just went, it just totally disappeared. So I'm going to do a few upgrades to show you what I've done to stop the wheels from falling off and to sort out the steering problem and make the steering a little bit more responsive, a little bit stronger. I'm going to change the servo out, change all the steering links. I'm going to change the hex nuts, the hubs, and show you guys what I've done to hopefully stop the wheels from coming off. So let's start with installing the new hubs, and basically these little blue ones, what you get, they're about £6 for a set on Amazon. I got these ones from. They've got a small slit in them, and they've got a hex key bolt which goes through them. So what you need to do is stick the bolt in the hex, just like this, and just tighten it up and squeeze it with a pair of pliers or a pair of grips to make it a little bit easier. Squeeze it and then do the bolt up. Otherwise, you'll strip the bolt because it's they're quite tight, and you with that small bolt you're not going to bend that aluminium. So you do need to do that. So get a pair of grips, put it on the hex, just like this. Squeeze them really tight and do that nut up. You'll see that gap close up a little bit. And once you get it correct, it should just slide on quite snug. If it doesn't, try it again. And that, fingers crossed. Stick the grips back on it again. Once it's on the car, you get plenty of grip. It's not going to pull off. Stick the grips on, squeeze it again really tight. And do that nut up as tight as you can go without obviously ruining the head on the hex nut. So you've just got to button it up a little bit. So squeeze the pliers, tighten it up, and then you're done. Good to go. Fingers crossed. If that wheel does come off again, you're not going to lose your pin, and you're not going to lose another bleeding bearing for one. That was a bit of a day ruiner, that was. So once you've done that, that should look a little bit like that. Nice and solid, and if your wheel does come off, it's not going to totally ruin your day. So, this red washer, this is what I think the reason is why this will come off in the first place. Right, so take that red washer off and just get rid of it. Get that, throw it in the bin. Not interested. Now what you've got is, if you look at this wheel, where you've got the basically the wheel nut which screws on it, this is a lock-in nut. So if you look closely at these knock-in nuts, loads of people know this, but just for the guys that don't, if you look closely at the back of these lock-in nuts, they've got little grooves in them that basically tighten onto things and stop them slipping. So it's like a little bit of a grip. So if you have a look, you see them little grooves? Now they're meant to grip onto whatever they tighten up to, and they stop them coming loose, or help them stop coming loose. See them little grooves? Now what they was doing is they was tightening up onto that red washer. Now if you look at this red washer, if I can get it in the light, you can see the marks where it's gripped it. So obviously they're tightening up to a red washer and making that nice and tight. But obviously you've got a washer which is slipping. So you want to get rid of that washer and you want just that nut directly on the wheel. So that nut grips the wheel and cannot slide. When it's on that red washer, it can slide, it can slip off, it can move, and that's the reason that I think that when I was braking, they basically just worked themselves loose. So get rid of all of these red washers. They look cool, I like them, didn't want to get rid of them, but lose them, guys. Get rid of them red washers. You got to throw them in the bin, but take them off your cars, because them wheels are meant to be on there solid. Stick your wheel on, stick the nut on it. This is just a new nut that I got with another pack of bits and pieces. You can use the original ones. I'd suggest get some new ones, just so you know these ones kind of feel like they grip a little bit better. But when you do screw them on, then that grips the wheel. The whole thing turns in one, so it doesn't matter. It has to grip it anyway. It just gives you a little bit more confidence that that wheel's not going to come off. It does come off. The hex nut is going to stay on there, fingers crossed, and you won't lose a bearing. You won't lose one of them pins, and I've done that to every single one of these wheels, and you guys should go and do it now. So next up, guys, steering. So these are the bits and pieces that I brought. I got them all from Serious RC. They're nothing to do with me, guys. I literally looked them up. They had loads of parts for sale for the MJX cars, bits and pieces. So anything you want, they probably got them. They got original parts, they got upgraded parts, and these are all the bits that I got to upgrade the steering. So the servo, as you can see, I put the prices, I put the model numbers up. So you guys, if you want to go and buy these, there's a few spare bits and pieces on there, like the steering arms and links and stuff. You won't be needing them; they'll just be spares. As you can see in this pack, you've got ball bearings which go around these new shafts. We're going to put in the ones that are in there at the moment. They're plastic, so we're going to change them. We're also going to change the steering servo saver, and to finish it off, we're going to change the steering bar. So guys, this is a little clip basically showing you what the steering is like now. So this is unmodified, no upgrades or anything. You got the original steering links and shafts, and the original servos and servo saver, which is all going to be changed out. And you can see it's a little bit slow, it's a bit sticky as well, and it's not that strong. So this is what we're going to be upgrading and hopefully making it a little bit better. So first thing, disconnect the battery. Take that out of the car completely, make sure it's not in the car, but we will need it, guys, because we need to set the new servo when it's in, so keep that handy. Stick it somewhere out of the way. And then the next thing you're going to do is you want to cut this little cable clip. Get that cable tie, cut that, get it off so all the cables are nice and loose. So first of all, let's get this servo out. We're going to undo the steering link. So this small tiny screw there, take that out. Don't forget, guys, put them all in an order so you know what way they go back. So have a little pop, put your screws in, or put them back into where they come from. So I know that's a servo screw. Next, you want to undo these 4 screws. You've got 2 either side. You're going to take this one out and take the other 2 out that you can see. Completely take these out, and the last one you can just loosen off and leave in there. That's them screws there, just in case you get confused later on. You can always come back and you can see that these are the screws that hold the servo in, and this screw, the one at the back, just loosen that one off. You don't have to take that one out. Once you've done that, just do that screw back up a little bit, keep it in there, then you should have 3 screws taken out and that one left in. So that's left in, and you got 1, 2, 3, and then your servo dangling out the side of your car. So 4 screws to the cover of the receiver. You want to undo these 4 screws. Here's a waterproof cover, so it's got a bit of a seal on it, so you do need to give it a little bit of a lift when you do get it off. And when you do, is that it's held in with some hot glue as well where the cables go in, so you need to give it a good little pull. Just as I'm doing there, give it a good little pull, lift it back, and it should just pull off. Voila! You see the hot glue there. Just someone's done that on there just to give it a little bit of extra waterproofing kind of properties. And what you want to do is once you've done that, is kind of lift that. That's just got a little sticky pad on it, just a bit of pressure on it. That'll lift up and roll it out through where the cables go, and that peels it off of the hot glue. Now you've got channel 1 at the bottom, and that's where the servo is plugged into, so pull that out and that's your servo out of the car, guys. So we're not going to use that servo saver that's on it. We're gonna put this other one together, so I'm going to show you how we do this. It's pretty simple. You basically get all the bits and pieces and you get your new servo, and we're basically going to set this servo. So what you want to do is you want to plug that servo into the receiver, back into channel 1, and then you want to put your battery back on. So just connect the battery to the power, and this basically set the servo into the correct position. So turn the car on, turn the controller on, and just go left right a couple of times. Now you know that that is centered exactly where it needs to be, and just turn the car off. Simple as that. So take your battery back off, guys. Stick that to one side. You won't need that now right until the very end. And now we're going to start getting this new servo saver connected onto the new servo. So it's pretty easy, guys. Just follow these steps. It goes in that order. So you've got the small little piece which goes onto the servo, and then you've got the lever, the steering lever link, which goes on it after. And you want to put them to a right angle like that, facing down. So the way you would put your servo in, that would be facing to the bottom of the car. That may not be exact, but as long as it is facing more or less down, same way as what I'm doing now, give that a good push when you do put that on. So when you put your steering arm on, the servo arm, you use this screw. There's 2 screws in this pack. One is more of a machine screw, which is the one at the top, and the bottom one is a standard screw. So you want to use the standard screw. So these are the order you do it in. Servo arm, and then the spring, and then that kind of plastic stop with that screw in it, and just do it up nice and tight. Again, guys, don't over tighten them, you just want it taut. So give it a, till it goes tight, and just give it a little bit extra. That's it. That's your new servo ready to go in with your new servo saver. And that, believe me guys, is much stronger. It's much better than this thing, which looks almost the same. I mean, that servo's so weak it's not even actually activating that. So keep that servo, don't throw it away, because it could come in handy. So to install You run the cable back underneath the support bar, put the servo back in position, and then you've got them 4 screws that you want to get back in. If that receiver waterproof box is in the way, just twiddle it out of the way like I just did. Get the 4 screws in that hold the servo. Do them screws up nice and tight. And that's your servo installed. Now, without anything connected to this servo, look, I'm telling you, this should be smooth. It's not. It's sticking. It's stiff. It's quite stiff to turn, actually. You can see it sticks. So that's how that comes. That's the original steering linkages. They're all causing this, so it's catching on something somewhere. So that is why I'm replacing all of the steering links, the steering shafts, and take the opportunity while I've got it all apart now to tighten up these 2 screws on the top. So they fix your hubs to the arms, so you want to screw them up, make sure they are tight. Now I've done this top and bottom, and it was still pretty stiff, to be honest. So I spun it over, tightened these 2 up, and it didn't make any difference at all. Obviously it tightened them up, but the steering linkages and everything was still quite stiff. So definitely something to do with that steering, the original steering and all the links. Definitely, in my view, if you've got one of these cars, you need to do this. So next off, what we want to do, guys, is you've got the steering support frame, which sits above the steering and holds everything in. There's 4 screws on that. You've got one there, one in there. I've taken those 2 out, and there's one left there and one left the other side. You want to take those 4 screws out because we need to take that support bracket off. Cool, right guys, that's not going to drop out yet. So there's one other thing that you got to do. Yep. You got to take that bloody screw out. So PH2 screwdriver bit, guys. I've taken this one out already, so I know it's going to come out quite easy. And once you've done that, you want to take off the body mount. So this little black bit on top. There's 2 small screws that you want to take out for that. And they are these 2. One there. And one there. And that body mount will just drop off. Just like that. And that will enable the metal brace to lift up so you can get the steering support bracket off. Now I know it's long and boring doing all this, but it is worth it. So pop that support bracket down somewhere, and then the next thing we want to do is you've got 2 small screws to undo. So on the end of these steering arms, you want that one off and that one. So we're going to remove both of those. And once you've got both of those out, that loosens up both the front wheels. And as you can see, the problem isn't with the front wheels because they're very loose. So it's confirmed what I thought it was in the beginning. It's confirmed that it's the actual steering links and the steering shafts, which is exactly what we're going to change now. So grab your bag with the 2 steering shafts, get both of those out. And this is where all of your troubles are going to begin. Right, so these are the two steel steering shafts that you're going to be installing. One goes there, one goes there. And you want to take the old ones out, and this is where everything just goes absolutely wrong. That's the pack that you need. That's all your steering bits and pieces. What we're going to do is we'll set these up first. So open this up, pour everything out. In this bag you've got a couple of the steering links, which are spares basically. So put them to one side because you've now got a few spares. They're exactly what's on the 209 anyway. I'll just show you. No difference with them in them at all. So there's no difference in them at all. Just get those, put them in your spares box. Happy days. So what we want to do is we want to get the links for the steering, and these have actually got bearings in these ones, which obviously make them run a lot better than the friction ones which are on there. So to get these bearings in, an easy way is stick the bearing in so it just catches, and it just puts some pressure on it from the other side. Don't push the wings down, you want to push the center shaft, so directly behind where the bearing is. So you've got one in either side. And again, any pressure that you put down on this, you want to put down directly over the bearing. You want to get the bearings in completely, just clips just like that. There you go. Get them inside the set flush. That's one side. You get the other component for the steering, and you want to do exactly the same. Bearings either side. Stick a bit of pressure on it, get those bearings sitting in there nice and flush. Pressure directly over the top, not on the wing that sticks out the side. And just make sure that you get the bearings sitting flush inside. If it's too hard, guys, use something over the top of it. I'm using the handle of a pair of grips just to get a little bit more pressure onto it. Now you want to flip it over once you've got the bearings in, and you want to undo not these two screws. You've got these 3 screws here, the 2 outside ones. This is where the troubles are, guys. Now I got away with it because I undone this one, stuck some grips on it, and it came right out. So I think I was extremely lucky with this one. See how easy that come out? Fingers crossed, guys, yours do exactly the same as that, and they just come out as easy as that. Put the screw to one side. And hopefully when you guys do this, you won't be able to get the links out yet. I did have a little try, but you won't be able to get the links out. You need to undo both of those. So I'll put the grips on the next one, and what happens? Let's have a look. Like most people working on these cars, strip. Now I can tell you guys, this buggy almost went out the window until this come out. So guys, if you've got a Dremel, the best way to do this is just get a Dremel with like a 2.5, 3mm bit. You don't want it too big because you don't want to make the hole bigger once you actually drill through the screw. So while you're waiting, here's a little track I made with one of my mates a while back. When the sky comes for And that, guys and girls, is why you hold the other end with a pair of pliers and you have a protective mat over your table. Anyway, once you've done that and you remove this culprit, you're basically, everything just drops out completely and you're now in the realms of putting it all back together. So that's all the hard bits and pieces done. As you can see, the holes are all the same size. I haven't made anything bigger. Use the correct size drill bit. So you get your new shafts. Stick the screw through the holes and just screw them up. Quite easy. Then when you hold these ones and screw these ones on, you're going to have to hold them with grips. What you want to do is you don't want to scratch the shaft because you're going to have bearings going over them shafts. So what you got to do is you got to get the grips around the bottom of the shaft. So my grips reach right over the top. I was quite confident in doing it, knowing that I'm not going to scratch the actual shaft. So see how I do that? I just grip the bottom section and then do the screw up. I'm not putting no Loctite or anything on these. Just literally screw straight through the bottom into that shaft, button it up, job done. So when you do that with both of your shafts, get them both installed. Once you've got them both on and they're nice and tight and not going to come off, you're ready to put your steering links on. So you want to get your first steering link, which is the one that's got the two arms on it. Place it over that shaft, and you want the link that goes to the servo. It's a bit fiddly, but an easy way to do it is just slide it underneath, put the screw in, and then sit it on top of that arm. Now there's 3 screws that you do this with, and they're the 3 black screws, and they've got a little bit of like blue thread lock on them, but that's the 3 screws which you're going to be using now. So this is one of them. The second one goes into this link, which connects the left hand wheel to the other side of that link arm. And then the other screw goes through there onto that one. So these, you can do these ones up nice and tight. That's the 3 black screws in that steering pack that have got the blue thread lock on. So it's not far to go, guys. I know it's been boring, but it's one of those ones. Some of you guys know how to do it, some of you guys don't know how to do it, and this is for the guys that don't know how to do it. Or even if you do know how to do it and you just wanted a guide to follow, or to see how some other people do things. So you put the last screw through the other end of that arm into the servo saver. Screw that one up nice and tight as well. So that connects totally your left hand wheel to the servo. That's what you should be looking at the moment. So next you want to get your steering support frame. Just place that in, just pops on quite easy. And stick the 4 screws back in. I'll fast forward this bit just to save a bit of time. So that's the 4th screw going in. Now you want to get your body mount. Stick that back in position. There's 2 screws. Stick them 2 screws back in. Again, I'll fast forward this. So I'll get these first 2 screws. 2 screws on the outside. Ignore the other 4. You don't need to take those out. Yep, I made that mistake for you, so you don't have to. And for some reason, this is a bit of a pain in the butt to get back in. So hold that on, get them 2 screws back on. Actually, body mounts back on. Let's get the big screw back in. Again, PH2 screwdriver bit, guys. Use the right bits. Fits the screws absolutely perfect. So do that up nice and tight. Get the grips out. Hold that brace and get that done up quite tight. Once that's all back together, you want to spin it upside down. And now we're going to install the steering bar, which basically links both of the steering links together. So you get 2 new screws, you get steering bar. An easy way to do it is just slide it underneath. What you want to do is you want to see it's slightly offset, so you want it this way round, and just slide that in and sit it on top of the 2 arms. There's only one position you can screw this into. So screw both of these screws up. And they are a bit fiddly actually. It took me a while to do this because I kept dropping the bloody screws. Anyway, you get both of those 2 screws in. There you go, there's one just dropped out. Get that other screw in. You got to kind of push it in at an angle and just force it over. Twist the wheels a bit just to line it up into the hole, and then just screw it up. Like I said, it is a little bit fiddly, but I have faith in you guys. I have faith. You can do it. You've come this far. So screw it up nice and tight, and that should be your steering upgraded. Nice. Right guys, now you want to connect the servo into the receiver, into channel 1 where it come from. There should be only one space where it can go. And then once you've done that, you want to roll the receiver back into position where it was before. Push it back down on its original sticky sticker that should be in there still. And there's a little tiny aerial that goes inside, doesn't come outside, stays inside. And then put the lid back on, 4 screws. Easy peasy, do all them up. That's all 4. And that is basically it done. Fold that bit of cable up. Stick it somewhere safe. Get a little cable tie, guys. Remember the one we took off at the beginning? You want to get another one, and you do want to tidy that cable up. Yep, you don't want it dropping into the fans and slowing fans down. So get yourself a little cable tie and stick it around them cables, okay? Now you want to grab your battery and just make sure it all works perfectly. And this is where I found out that it doesn't. So that there, even though it's a lot stronger, guys, and you look, see, it's a lot more responsive. You've got the power in the servo now because it's a 27-gram servo opposed to a 3 or a 5, whatever the original one is. So you can see it's got a lot of strength in it. Wants to turn. But listen to the sound. Now watch. Ah. There lies a problem. So what you want to do, guys, as the last little finishing touch is that screw and this screw. Just loosen them off slightly. Just like one whole turn. That's all it is. And now look. That's exactly how they should be. That is the servo not turning. That is the servo saver doing its job. And that is extremely free. Nice and free and easy. And now when you turn it on and you plug the battery back in and you turn it on, watch the difference. This is perfect. This is how it should be. Right guys, so that is the whole job done, completed, start to finish. And what I'll eventually do is them 2 screws that I just loosened off, I'll take them out, put some tiny washers underneath them just to lift it up a little bit. And that is it completed. So again, hope you've enjoyed the video, hope you took note, hope you're actually doing this. And if I've helped someone out, thumbs up, absolutely perfect. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I shall see you guys, hopefully, on the next one.